Like, I mean, there's a lot I don't remember because that adrenaline was just pumping so hard. But I remember my hands were shaking. I couldn't really articulate what I wanted to articulate. And then I got home and, in trying to decompress, I took a shower because I was covered in that tear gas, and my body actually broke out in hives. Like my shoulders and my arms were covered in a million little tiny blisters that lasted for about 2 days just from that stress alone.
We were just talking, going over again about the protest. Specifically, when I went on the second day, I didn't have any personal experience with anybody firing into the crowd on the police side, but their badges were covered and their names were covered. And I was wondering, when you went to the protest on the day that you did, were you able to identify the police at all, or were they already in full riot gear?
There were cops just in uniform, and I could see their badge numbers and their names. And then there was a team that showed up in full riot gear, and those officers you couldn't identify in any way. We were in front of the Hall of Justice, and people were speaking. We took moments of silence. The cops in riot gear showed up, and they essentially surrounded us. They stood shoulder to shoulder with one another, and they had us surrounded on all sides. They weren't giving any kind of direction. Protesters, started chanting, "Take a knee," I don't want to use the term aggressive, but some protesters started to get really angry at that point because, we were very peaceful, and why are you showing up in full riot gear? I think it was like that for like 2 minutes, and then the police started closing in on us. Like, they just started walking towards us. The next thing I know, one of those flash grenades goes off. Right after that, they started just throwing tear gas into the crowd, and everyone's trying to run in all these different ways. But because they surrounded us, there was nowhere really for us to go.
And then, do you know what provoked that, or it's just you heard a bang?
Literally nothing. Literally nothing. They weren't giving any direction. They weren't asking us to disperse. They weren't saying, you can't collect here. Nothing. They just did it. I mean, and then after that, then people got mad and people started throwing things at cops. That's when I saw water bottles actually being thrown at cops.
Yeah. See, I heard some testimony obviously from the police side saying that water bottles were thrown and then flashbangs went off.
But
you're saying the flashbang went off and then water bottles were thrown?
And then after the tear gas, people started throwing stuff. Like, we all kind of ran away. And then when the police stopped, using the flash grenades and the tear gas, everybody slowly started coming back. But at that point, tensions were so hot and heavy that people started throwing stuff at the cops and yelling at the cops. I see a couple people get arrested.
How many times would you say the police came at the group of protesters violently? Because I counted 2. So the first time they came at you with the flashbangs and the tear gas. And then you rekindled, you're on your knees, hands in the air, saying, "Hands up, don't shoot." And then they assaulted again. Did this happen a third or fourth time? Or was just kind of continuous? Oh my goodness. Okay.
So it happened a third time. So at that point, after we attacked that girl, they started telling us that we needed to move back. They were trying to disperse us from that area. Rapid firing into the crowd again, and at that point I just ran, because somebody next to me got hit with one of the rubber bullets. I couldn't see, I couldn't breathe.
So they were firing rubber bullets into the San Diego crowd.
Peaceful protesters.
Because I'd heard of rubber bullets being used everywhere but San Diego. So this is the first time I'm hearing of rubber bullets being used in San Diego. So you're saying they showed up prepared to riot?
They did.
They did.
And then, once everybody started lashing out because they're pissed, and more specifically, white people were the ones to first really lash out towards the police for obvious reasons. They're mad, but also, most black people, we're not going to even go there because we're going to be the next name on that long list of names. But
do you think that was a smart move by the white protesters? Because I'm also under the impression that if a white protester were to instigate any sort of animosity with a police officer, that their black counterpart protesters would be getting they would be getting a worse Brent than them.
Yeah, they would use it as an excuse to go after them.
General population will look at it more as like them starting
absolutely is the case. Absolutely. Like, I mean, I definitely saw them going after white people too, but when white people lash out at the police violently, you know, even if they've done something violent towards the protesters, it literally gives them an excuse to go after people of color, which is exactly what they did. You know, they started punching and hitting black people around the white people with batons.
So you saw firsthand that it was targeted. Was it still targeted towards people of color, even though white people were instigating it?
Yes. I watched on multiple occasions officers just go up and push a black person. As we were walking away from where they were telling us to get away from, as they were trying to move the crowd, this cop, I literally watched this cop come up behind this girl. She's about 5'3", black girl, and just shove her to the ground.
Jeez.
For no reason. Just shoved her to
from
the
the
ground.
back. So she was retreating then.
Mm-hmm. She didn't even see it coming.
God, because I've been seeing so many of those videos happen too, where it's like people are at that point, they're already retreating, and the cops are still just trying to like go very aggressive at them.
And I also have to set the scene. When I showed up on day 2 of protest, this was also a youth-led protest, so there is incentive to not hurt youth, obviously. But the line of police that, you know, the protests were met with, at the very front were the Mexican and black cops. And then behind them were the white cops.
Oh, really?
I don't quite think that was coincidence.
Oh no, that sounds strategic at that point.
Yeah, that sounds very
Because it'd be
Very
for the photos.
Yep.
There definitely were white cops in the front. We can look back at the pictures and show it, but I do know that I came face to face with more black and brown officers in the front of the line than I did in the back.
Interesting.
The bulk of what I saw were white officers, but at the same time, you know, they were in full riot gear. So the bulk of them had their faces covered with a shield.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that I could not see on those particular officers.
How do you go home after that? What's your takeaway when that, because that just to me sounds like an incredibly unsafe situation.
It was terrifying. After like the third round of the flashbangs and the tear gas, you know, like I said, I ran away. I literally ran from 2nd and Broadway to 4th and Market. And at that point, I borrowed somebody's phone because my phone died because I was like recording everything. And I borrowed someone's phone and called my dad to come get me. And, you know, like, I mean, there's a lot I don't remember because that adrenaline was just pumping so hard. But I remember my hands were shaking. You know, I couldn't really articulate what I wanted to articulate. And then I got home and, you know, in trying to decompress, I took a shower because I was covered in that tear gas, and my body actually broke out in hives. Like my shoulders and my arms were covered in a million little tiny blisters. It lasted for about 2 days, just from that stress alone.
Dang.
And that's not something that you really learn about tear gas.
And nobody talks about that at all. Like you said,
the effects and everything.
So, speaking on the effects of tear gas, we mentioned earlier that the use of tear gas is illegal in other countries, but for use by the military. Like the military can't go to another country, even in war, and use tear gas as they please. But it's been used domestically. So having had tear gas on you, you said it goes all through your lungs. I know that gas masks aren't, they're not going to stop tear gas. It's still going to go through. It's still going to burn your eyes, and you're going to cry or drool, and you get all like the disgusting slobber from your face. But you said it was all over your body.
Yeah, like it was like a powdery residue that was left like on my clothes.
Yeah.
So it's like a layer of tear gas left on your body.
Yeah.
So it lingers. It's not even like you breathe it and you're gone. Like it'll stay.
Yeah. The only thing that I can say is the tear gas. So milk in your eyes and then water with baking soda also helps to get it out of your eyes. But if it got thrown right where you were standing and you get like that fresh coat of it, it's literally, it's in your pores, it's in your hair. You know, even if you're able to rinse your eyes out so that you can see, the second you start sweating, that gas is going right back in your eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, dang. You didn't think about that too. Yeah, it's like it's already in your pores, so it's like it's just gonna keep coming back on.
Dude, this is an actual weapon.
Which is why it
Yeah.
makes
Oh,
sense
absolutely.
to ban this kind of thing. But it's like, hey, let's use it on our own U.S. citizens.